Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
Do you like movies?
Do you like sports?
I never played that sport on the screen, but I really enjoyed how the movie made me feel.
Well then, have we got a show for you. The Adrian Moment is where my friend Ocean and I discuss the triangulation of sports, movies, and life.
We dive deep into the movies, discussing how they relate to and have affected our lives.
We will talk about why the sport matters to the movie, why you don't have to love the sport to enjoy the movie, and mine a few nuggets of meaning inside the story you may not have realized was really there.
After listening to our show, come join us for more conversations about the movies that portray the thrill of victory
And the agony of defeat.
Find the Adrian Moment podcast on your favorite podcast app and join us while we cover the sports you love and the ones you never think about.
You will never see sports or sport movies the same again.
Okay, now for the lightning round.
I'm so good at lightning rounds. That's from Friends. It's my favorite show.
20 seconds on the clock starts now. Who is the captain of the USS Enterprise?
Oh, crap. Is it, Captain Stubing? No, Morgan? Crunch?
Next question. Which superhero is Tony Stark?
Stark. Did Game of Thrones have superheroes? I only watched 2 episodes.
What planet were Luke and Leia born on?
Planet Fitness?
Oh, time's up. Sorry. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Hey everybody, Mandy Kaplan here. Please check out my podcast, Make Me a Nerd, where each week an incredible guest tries to baptize this mainstream mom into the world of sci-fi, fantasy, and all things nerdy. Available wherever you podcast.
That's our show, folks.
Wait, I just thought of it. Padme Amidala gave birth to her twins Luke and Leia on Polis Massa. No, that's dumb. Is it Planet Hollywood?
All the Feelings presents
Adulting.
this episode.
Kids and dependents.
Welcome to All the Feelings, everybody. I'm Pete Wright, and that there is the handsomest of most handsome adults, Tommy Hansen.
Oof, it just gets better and better. Thank you so much.
It does every week. Welcome to the show, Tom. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you showed up.
Yeah, I just made it. I was in the area. I thought I'd stop by and do our regularly scheduled podcast.
The alarms went off and you were here. You were summoned.
There's alarms going off all the time.
Can I just say, last night you sent me a text that has given me just tickles. I think I dreamed about it. You said I was podcasting with some other people last night, and I think your feelings were hurt. And you wrote, "Are they talking about me being handsome and funny and handsome and funny, and remembering that I am like Tinkerbell and that I only exist while other people clap while they think of me?"
I forgot I said all that. Yes, because you sent me a picture of people you were podcasting with, and I had a little bit of FOMO.
Yeah,
podcasting
FOMO.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, it's a delight to see you. What are we talking about today?
This is kind of a big one and a fun one. We're talking about 2 subsets of the same thing, because both of you and I, sliding doors style, have very different lives, but they do come back and touch every once in a while, like the roots of a tree, Pete. And we're talking about kids and dependents, because one of us has one of those and one of us has the other. And mine just barked a little bit in his sleep. That's adorable. So there's a clue of which one we're doing. Yeah. And I think probably you should go first as the one with the aforementioned children. You want to get us started?
And so I shall.
Subset 1.
Unclaimed dependents.
Tom, I didn't know how to talk about this today.
Oh, no.
I know. It's funny, right?
Yeah.
Because I have kids. I've talked about them before. They are now...
I've met both of them. They are lovely.
Thank you. I appreciate that. They are 19 and 23 now. So they are effectively in that, like, safe to launch part of their lives, right? They're out there. They're doing things on their own. And so we're talking about kids and talking about figuring out, how it relates to adulting. But I've already gone through a lot of the hardcore lessons about being a dad, right?
Sure.
Like, I've changed diapers. I've done all that stuff. That's kind of old news at this point.
Yeah.
The thing I find that I struggle with now, the thing I'm learning is the thing that they don't tell you when you have kids. The thing they don't tell you is that success sort of feels like being fired from a job that you absolutely loved.
Oh, got it. If
Do you
you've
know?
done your job correctly, you get a gold
Yeah,
watch and you
yeah.
Fred Jones part 2'd out the door. Got it.
That's exactly right. Like they're
Yeah.
doing their thing and they're gone having a life, and I'm like there is a kid-shaped hole in my life right now,
Mm,
right? This is the ever-present who am I without the carpool question, which
okay.
which is like I thought I'm going to be fine. I'm going to have a lot of time to myself. It's going to be I'll be able to do those projects that I want to do so badly when I don't have time to do it because I'm driving somebody somewhere.
Yeah.
That's it's actually very different and makes you feel about yay big, about 3 inches tall, because you feel like, how is it possible that I don't know what to do with myself at this age, at this phase, because of this hole in my life? I mean, you spend 2 decades working as a full-time parent, full-time job, logistics manager, emotional support, amateur nutritionist, and then nothing. The kid calendar goes empty. There's no rehearsals. There's no permission slips. There's no like snack rotation. Like it's just gone. And so, yeah, I'm proud, but also I'm the laid off CEO who like still hangs out in Slack, just to
So it is like another retirement. Speaking of Fred Jones, the
a
song, the
little
Ben Folds
bit,
song, Fred Jones Part 2, that I
a
mentioned
little bit.
before. But
Yeah,
isn't there, were there times when you were in the thick of it that you were like,
of
let's
course.
go
Yeah.
get these kids out?
This
Not
is
get them out
absolutely,
for forever, but you would need breaks. You would long for this time, I would
yeah.
think.
There's an arc in parenting when you first have the kids. They're very small and they fit just about anywhere, right?
Okay.
They fit on half of one couch on the cushion on the couch, one cushion on the couch. They
Mhm.
fit like in a small bag that you can strap across your chest. They fit wherever you put them, and then they begin to grow and they take up more space, and then they become teenagers and they take up way too much damn space. And the
Mhm.
house feels tiny and everybody's loud and they chew with their mouth open and their voices are too loud, and you think, oh my god, will it ever end? And
Yeah.
you still love them through this, but it's legitimate, oh my god, will it ever end? And then they're gone and you're like, it is too quiet, I think I'm going crazy. Does anybody
Oh,
have an ice pick that I can jam into my own ears? uh and and so there's that piece of it, but the other side of that is the ambiguous loss. This is from an author named Pauline Boss, who writes about this strange gray space where grief lingers without a clear event to grieve. The kids leave the house, but they're not really gone, are they? Right? You're
right.
lonely and you're grieving their absence, but they're still out there. It's just different. Like they
And they will be
text
coming
and
back and vacations and stuff like that. Right.
right, they'll be coming back, but when they're gone, they're still like, "Dad, what's the Netflix password?" kind of thing, right? Of course, we would never share passwords because,
Never.
right, terms of
Yep.
service. Uh, but they don't need you in the same way, and there is a certain sort of addiction that comes from being needed, and I don't mean in that like I'm a
Interesting.
complete narcissist sort of way,
Sure.
but in that I'm pretty good at helping kids learn how to solve problems.
Sure. And
And
that gives
I'm,
you a real sense of purpose also.
yeah, yes.
A sense of
And
purpose, but
without,
also purpose in the way of you are helping out your fellow man. It turns out your fellow man is your fellow kids, but
yeah,
still. Yeah.
yeah. And I had one who left first, and I didn't experience this because I had another one for 4 more
Right.
years who left second. And so it was like I had a little bit of runway. The house got a little bit quieter, but not enough that I felt rudderless in the same way.
Did that help? Meaning, did it get easier, or did that make the Nicholas leaving? We've named your children on this
We
podcast, right?
have Nicholas and
Okay,
Sophia. Yeah.
Nicholas and Soph. That when Nicholas left, was that such a bigger difference, or you said a runway? Did it help you prepare?
I think it did a little
Okay,
bit. Just knowing that the house was getting bigger again. Do you know?
Sure.
Like I use that metaphor a lot. It really does feel like the house gets bigger because there's more empty space,
Right.
and that's an interesting experience. And we're in this strange space because Soph left for a while and then
Hmm.
got a job and came back,
Right.
and because of the way the sort of economy and our culture is going, they've been living with us for the last year. And
That's right. While they are an EMT. EMT?
EMT, yeah.
Correct. That's right.
And so they're out on an ambulance all day long, and then they come home, and like a dutiful roommate, they come home and just live their life in and out of our house.
Huh.
And it is a completely different experience now, because now I'm bearing witness to this strong young adult who's living their life and also doesn't need me in plain sight,
Sure.
right? And
They
now
got
I
their own
find
stuff
myself,
officially going on.
yeah, I have to excuse myself from conversations because I'll jump in and overfix like a dad,
Yep.
and they don't want it, they don't need it, they didn't ask for it. And that's really important. You have to learn how to wait until somebody asks you for help. And that's
Yes.
wicked hard.
I have recently gone through that with my father of just, I'm not going to go into the whole situation, but in my head being, oh no, I was not asking for advice.
Yeah,
I was
right.
sharing a moment of connection. I go through
Yes.
that too. And then it became a big learning experience. And I was like, what? No, I
Oh,
was just saying that we're both
yeah.
the same people. And
Yeah.
I was in showing vulnerability and trying to make him feel better. It became a learning experience
Yeah.
where I got a big lecture. And I
You get a
was not
lecture.
looking for that at all. I was trying to be a fellow person.
Well, do you know what's funny about that? Like, this is
Yeah.
what happens. Just because, like, I look at it like, I don't know why I'm thinking so much about taxes. I think we use the word dependent, and immediately I went down the road of like
Right.
W-2s.
Yeah.
This is the emotional W-2, right? Where, like, just because the IRS doesn't count them as dependents anymore doesn't mean I don't, right?
Sure.
Like, I'm still carrying them around in the brain, just like your dad is. I know he's still carrying you around in that same way. And look, we're like middle-aged guys firmly, and
Too much.
too much. And this is still that relationship because I don't think it ever stops. There is this like mental checklist, this mental calendar that I carry around of like, did they eat today? Did they have health insurance? Did they miss open enrollment? Are
Yeah.
they happy? Or are they just sending memes again so that I'll stop asking? And here's the other piece, and I wonder if this speaks to your dad. Like, once you have that emotional muscle memory taking over of needing to be needed, the whole world becomes open to an assignment of dependency, right? That one friend who only calls when they're spiraling, the barista whose breakup you are now tracking. Like, everybody in your life becomes a dependent that you could possibly become an emotional sponge to. That's real too. Like, you
Huh.
overly care about everyone else because you don't have an outlet anymore. It's gone. It moved out. And I find that crazy. In this idea of invisible dependence as this modern adulting symptom that I did not see coming, and I think especially for high empathy people, is a can be a raw nerve just
Mhm.
open for business all the time.
Sure. The, everything that you're talking about actually reminds me, I love kids. I love spending time with kids. I work with children,
Sure.
but I never really considered wanting my own children. I think I always wanted to be a good uncle and friend to my kids. No, my friends' kids, but not have my own kids. I don't think I ever had enough confidence that I would have what it takes. And I would
Yeah.
worry too much and pass on my own worries. But there was a time when I think it's one of the times when I think I got as close to knowing what a parent feels like. Is this took a zillion years ago, and I did, in case this came up, I did get an okay from the mother in this story. I'm going to go ahead and keep her anonymous. But I was on a train trip with this mother and her toddler, and we're going to call the toddler the conductor, because the conductor was wearing an Oshkosh Bagosh overalls, blue stripes, and a train conductor's hat. This was his first train ride, and he was decked out in adorable toddler conductor outfit.
I still do
And oh, that's right, because you used to ride the throw-up train.
Right.
Anyways, he was in his striped blue conductor's hat, and it was the cutest thing in the world. And for about 45 minutes, I just followed him as he walked up and down the train, car by car. And I made the exact same joke every time the door would open, everyone would see him, and I'd say, "Tickets, please." And he would walk by and wave at people, and people would pretend to give him tickets. And it was adorable. I promise this story does have an end. Later on the train ride home, things got more challenging. The conductor had or does have some sort of asthmatic situation, and he would need nebulizer treatments.
Sure.
Which you sort of hold a face mask over their face and have them breathe in medicine juice. And he doesn't like it. He doesn't understand what's going on. And while the trip had been a lot of fun, it's a lot to travel with a toddler. Of course, we were all pretty wiped. We had spent an entire day wherever we were, post-train and pre-train. And so seeing that the mom was pretty tired, I volunteered to take this shift of upset toddler, take him into the bathroom and give him a nebulizer. And he hated it, understandably. He hates it when his mom did it. So he really hates it when I do it.
Stranger.
And he was screaming and crying, and it was very torturous emotionally for me. But we got through it. Why am I telling this story? As I remember it, the way that this trip was scheduled is I left and flew back to California. I'd been there for like 4 days. I flew back to California the next day. And while the trip had been magical, I was wiped out. It had been a joy, but I needed a break from kids. I was like, yes, this is why I don't have kids, is because I can spend this intense, wonderful time together and then leave. And they are still trapped in a train with nebulizers. And I was glad about all my life choices. And this is as the plane is taking off. As the plane lands, this is the real point. 2.5 hours later, I was really missing the conductor.
Yeah.
I felt this ache in my heart because I wasn't going to be seeing him again. When the plane took off, I was like, woohoo, back in it, freedom, and all of that. And just, it took 2 hours of a break. And I was like, oh, I desperately wish that I wasn't leaving him. And I feel like that must be what a parent is like, especially when you're in the thick of it. It's so much work, but it's so worth it through all. I mean, you need breaks, but then you want them back right away. I just remember feeling that intensely of like, oh, what a turnaround. It seemed like I needed my life back. I needed 2 hours and I needed a overextended nap, and then I was back in it. So that seems to be akin to sort of some of the things that you're talking about.
Well, yeah, because and that's a thing that happens. For me, I don't want to speak for everyone, but because I know the act of birthing a child for moms and dads, very different experience. But for me, I did not know what I was going to expect when I had a kid, and then I had a kid, and there is a moment of about 30 seconds when you are an expecting parent, and then suddenly you're a parent, and the entire world tilts on its axis. And I'm sure you have experienced that with your friends who had kids, and suddenly their world tilts on its axis, and your relationship with them changes because their world has completely changed. And then you spend 18 years telling them to hydrate every day, and then you lose that, and you wonder, like, how do I go on? How do I go on? And that's not to say that it's like I don't sit and cry every day, right? I'm not not that, because, and I've been reading a lot about it because this is a real journey, and there's a study that I picked up that was written about in a book on how the empty nest isn't really just empty, by John Gorchoff. And in it, he says, look, empty nest couples often experience an increase in their own marital satisfaction once child rearing stressors are removed. And I
That's
can
good.
say largely that's true, but it is very different because you
Yeah.
kind of have to look at your partner and say, hey, I'm Pete. Who are you? Like, let's meet each other again for the first time because 18 years have gone by when we had this other thing to distract us. And
Yeah.
now we kind of get to meet again and spend time alone
Interesting.
together again.
Right.
And that's different and fun. And you can feel the door opening to a new phase. And that is curiosity and wonder. And so, I think about letting go, like what I'm learning as an adult, which is like letting go is not a clean break, right?
Mhm.
It's not like I just Mary Kondoed the stuff that doesn't give me joy anymore, right?
Right.
And I've closed the door. It's layers. It's like first you let go of a bedtime routine and story time, and then you let go of needing to make their breakfast, and
Yeah.
then you realize you haven't had to remind them to change their underwear day after day.
Yep.
And they don't need you anymore, and it's actually a good thing,
Sure.
right? You have to remind yourself that emptiness in this context, in my context, is positive, and it
And
feels lonely and sad, but it's really, really good,
and emptiness doesn't stay empty.
right?
It becomes filled with
It's just
something else.
different. Yeah.
Do you know another way? You were talking about how you and your beautiful wife's relationship has blossomed in this new way once the kids moved out. Do you want to maybe up it one more notch and start pretending that you never had kids? Like actively ignoring them when they call?
I'm going to file to try to legally change their names.
Yes.
Can I do that?
Return all Father's Day gifts, return to sender. Who is this? What kind of prank is this? Yeah. And then just see what pours in. That could be really
It's
fun.
good.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. The other side of it though is I still sort of like to think that I own them. I made them. Aren't they
Oh,
mine? Like
okay.
I'm just gonna just as an adulting exercise, I'm gonna start filing like applying for credit cards in their name. I hear that's a thing kids like.
Oh, so just fraud. I
Yeah.
see. Parental fraud. That's
This is
outstanding.
good. We've got a lot of lessons still to learn.
Welcome back to your favorite canine-themed game show about a very specific dog, my dog Foster. It's time for another round of Things Foster Does. Pete, as you know, I'll be reading off a lightning round of things that my adopted dog Foster does, and you will have to say whether or not it is something that Foster does. So I will read it, you'll say correct or incorrect. So to start you off with an example that you can easily understand, I could say, Foster sometimes makes weird squeaks when he yawns, which led me once to write a song called Put Another Nickel in the Puppy Machine. You would answer?
Correct.
Correct, because that is
That
something
song
that was
is a
revealed on
banger.
this show many seasons ago. All right, are you ready? There's just about 8 of them, and let's see how you do.
Okay.
These are maybe things that Foster does, and here we go. Foster will stand over me in the middle of the night, and when I ask him what's wrong, he will sneeze in my face.
Correct.
Correct. Foster will see a shadow of a bird flying over him on the sidewalk, and he'll run after the shadow and then run into a garbage can.
Correct.
Correct. Foster's morning routine in the winter is to leap on and off the bed while I sing, "Did you hear the news? We're wearing pants."
Correct. Please.
Correct. Foster barks whenever he sees scooters go by.
Oh, correct.
Incorrect, Pete. It's skateboard.
What?
Scooters he's fine with. I think he has a scooter account, like a Lime account. Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
Foster thinks plastic garbage bags are terrifying.
Oh, correct.
Correct. Foster thinks the wind is a game and that I'm in charge of it.
I'd like to say correct. That's pretty specific.
Correct. Foster once pooped out a surprisingly intact leaf.
Ooh. Ooh. Correct.
Correct. I did not keep it. Foster has over 3 times missed time jumping onto his easy chair and instead face planted into it, then pretended like that was his plan the whole time.
Correct.
Correct. Last one. Foster is a good boy.
Oh, so correct.
Very correct. This has been Things Foster Does. Goodbye, folks.
Tonight, a story of betrayal. It happened in Wisconsin, a state known for dairy, decency, and not much else. Until now. A domestic dispute, a quiet home, a boy, age 4, innocent, trusting. That trust would soon be shattered. Authorities say it began like any other afternoon. A child, home with his mother and grandmother. A frozen treat in the freezer. A dream deferred by nap time. But then he awoke. The unthinkable had happened. The ice cream was gone. In a moment of panic, in what many are calling an act of stunning civic maturity, the child found a phone. He dialed 3 numbers, 9, 1, and 1 again.
This is Racine County 911. What's the address of your emergency?
Said the dispatcher.
My mom is being bad,
Said the child. Steady now.
Okay, what's going on?
The dispatcher responded coolly.
Come and get my mommy.
More intensely still. Then the voice of grandmother.
Oh, this little one got the phone, and he's 4.
Okay.
And we're trying to catch him because he said he was going to call 911.
The child screaming in the background now.
No, I got in the I just called the bully, and I just told her to come and get my mommy. And I just told her, and I just told her to get my mommy, and I just told her to put her to jail. So leave me alone.
Emergency services responded. Officials arrived at the scene. The crime?
I ate his ice cream, so that's probably why he's calling 911. Okay, so you don't need police, fire, or rescue? No, okay.
Mommy had eaten the wrong ice cream. No arrests were made. The one stern conversation was had. And while some say this was an overreaction, this reporter says this is the future we want. A generation who believes that justice should be cold and served immediately. And honestly, who among us wouldn't call the authorities if someone stole our dessert? This is not just about dairy theft, it's about the trust between parents and children. It's about consequences. It's about the calls we make when no one's listening. Except in this case, the actual police dispatcher. If that's the kind of reporting you want more of, hard-hitting, heartwarming, and just a little bit sticky, then it's time for you to become a feeling friend. For just $35 a year, $25 renewing, you get early access to episodes, extended editions, and live streams where we promise not to judge you for crying over snacks. Parenting is weird, childhood is weird, life is weird, and we pledge to laugh about it together because when the ice cream gets eaten, justice is cold. And now, back to the show.
Subset 2.
A harrowing tale of dependence unleashed.
Pete, Arita. As avid listeners of this podcast know, I do have a dependent. Please note that I'm not one of these people that say pets are the same as children, and no one should ever use the phrase fur baby.
I was worried about that. I was going to have to call you out.
No.
Glad you said that.
As we already went over in the incredibly written game show, what Foster does. I'm speaking of Puppy King Foster. He's lying on the big blue easy chair behind me, famously the nicest piece of furniture I have, and he's the only one who uses it. And I can't imagine my life without Foster, but I do remember why I waited so long to get him. To get my first dog as a person, partly because my apartment building at the time didn't allow them, but also there was something else going on. Now, Pete, to explain this part, I have a tale to tell you, and I just don't know how to explain it. Maybe it's harrowing. Pete.
Oh my God, I've waited all season.
Are you ready for a harrowing tale?
I am.
So, we think Foster, because he is a rescue, we think he's around probably 11, 12-ish. We're not exactly sure. And either way, the first year that I got him, I wanted my friends to meet him. And so we all went down to Rosie's Dog Beach. Rosie's Dog Beach is all the way down in Long Beach, and it's just a famous open beach where you can bring your dogs and have them off leash, and dogs run around and do dog things. And this was my first time that a lot of my friends were meeting Foster. And this was the first time I was seeing Foster, sometimes he had met his other dog friends, but it was always in backyard. So I wanted to see how he did. Things are going great, Pete. He's running around. He's not a water dog, unfortunately, so he doesn't get his feet wet. He hates it. But he was just running around, sniffing people, doing all this stuff. And then I look over and I was like, where is Foster? I'm having trouble finding him. And then I saw what he was doing. There was this couple, young, maybe like 20s, boy and a girl sitting on the beach. And they had their shoes off, complete beach style. And she had her Tom sandals next to her. Foster went up, wagged his tail. They sort of cooed at him. And then he lifted his leg and peed all over her sandals. Love it. Classic. And I was like, oh no. And I ran over and I was like, I'm so sorry. And she was like, ugh. I mean, she could have been more gracious about it, but she wasn't like livid. But she was just like, ugh, it's gross. I get it. So I was like, I'm so sorry. And I took the sandals and walked them down to the ocean. I said, may I wash them off? She said, yes. And I took them and I washed them off in the ocean and I brought them back and I put them on there. And I was like, I'm really sorry about that. She says, no, it's fine. It's a dog beach. Foster then sniffed the sandals again. And I
peed again.
No, he turned around and pooped on the sandals. He doubled down. This is 1,000% true. Friends of the show will. And this is the first time that people are. And like my friend of the show, Sajak, was right there. He could have whisked Foster away, but instead broke down laughing so hard because Foster he was intent on ruining these shoes. And so at that point, God. I was like, I'm sorry, how much did your sandals cost? And she was like, $40. I just gave her $40. And I said, Foster, put them on the leash, and we walked away. And it was very funny and incredibly mortifying, obviously. I mean, this was a clear Foster move. I don't know what he has to do with those sandals, but he just needed.
Jeez.
Yeah. So to go back then, part of the reasons that I waited to get a dog is because I was worried, the same way we talked about kids. I was worried that what if I can't? It's so important to me to be such a good owner and to have a happy dog. Am I up for that responsibility? But then the other part is, and you used the word narcissistic before, there's a chance this segment becomes a little narcissistic, but I want to talk through it. I'm also worried and was worried and am worried too much to this day how my dog's behavior out in the world reflects on me. How people think about me because of what my dog, who is a loving dog, but is also a rescue and at times a trash dog. He cannot handle skateboards. There are 3 dogs in his entire life where he has decided there is a blood feud. And one of them used to be one of his best friends, and now they cannot get along. When we see him on walks, he loses his mind. So I can't get into his head fully because I don't know what he went through.
Yeah.
He's weirdly afraid of certain things. As I said, plastic bags. He apparently was delivered to Earth in a plastic bag and he hates them.
He thinks they'll take it back.
Yeah. And so that idea of, and so when I take him to a dog park or when we're hiking and he goes up to a dog, sometimes I do tense up because I'm afraid he'll be a jerk. He's usually not. He almost never is. And I want to bring up the fact that I realize that I'm making my dog about me, but I have to assume that good parents also worry about how their human skin children, skin children.
Gross.
That's the opposite of fur baby is skin children. That they worry about how their kids act in public and how that reflects on them, right?
100%.
That's a part of it. Okay.
All the time.
Because I see other people on walks and their dogs like run up and bark and snip at other dogs. And they're just like, he's fine. I don't have that bone. I'm probably over tensing my dog. If dogs, they say, can sense anxiety like bees.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I am probably, that's why my dog shakes all the time. Is they haven't cleared a Klonopin for dogs. Clonabone? Well, I'll write that down.
Clonabone.
And so, okay, so I'm not crazy. So you do feel that way because I guess part of me feels I'm supposed to be like, screw you. It's my dog and I love him and you don't get to have an opinion on him. I'm not built that way.
No, and I don't know how many people are built that way. Obviously,
really?
More than 2, maybe, I guess. Yeah. But for me, there's absolutely a reflection on. Yeah. I see the reflection on me when my kids, when they fight with each other in front of other people. Right. I get super tense. Like that's a reflection. Like they I don't And what's interesting is, and this is an experience I don't think maybe you get, when you hear from other parents or other people how sweet and kind and generous your child is when you're not around, and you realize, oh God, it's me. It's my presence that makes them a nightmare. And it turns out we're doing okay as long as I stay out of the way.
You're the missing link.
Yeah.
You're the speed bump.
I'm patient zero. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, like, all of that is, you feel like it's a reflection on you when they don't, when you introduce them to somebody and they don't speak or reach out and shake hands or do something,
Right.
or where they're paralyzed in fear, or say, tell stupid jokes or things that are inappropriate or something like that.
Sure.
So
Commit
yeah,
larceny.
you're not alone.
Okay. Then how do you as a parent deal with that? Where is your level of, I've got to not hold on too tight, I can't let it be too much of a reflection? I'm trying to find a medium ground, because I have really good friends who have a dog who is very sweet, but the dog does run up and get in other dogs' faces. And there's a little bit of a tussle, and it happens all the time. And they call the dog's name, but they clearly aren't feeling this weird existential dread that I am.
Yeah.
So I need to get somewhere there. Did you ever figure out how to do it, or?
No.
Damn it. Okay. I guess this isn't a fixing podcast. This is a sharing.
It's not
podcast.
a fixing podcast, but I will say that there's a period where, and I could say this for both, ours too. Like, he's also, like, as long as we're talking about dogs, dog parks are tough because, again, there are John Wick level enemies at the dog park, and they're isolated.
Yeah.
Some of them are, sometimes we go to the dog park and everybody has a ball, and sometimes a nemesis assassin is there, and there are no gold coins that can save
contract.
us. Yeah, there's a contract, and
there's that one pug that's incommunicado.
I will tell you this: like, you had the shoe story, and I don't want to one up your shoe story, but I'm going to.
Absolutely.
We're at the dog park, and there's a lovely older gentleman with a beagle. He actually had two beagles at there, and beagles are adorable, slow, and sound cannons. Yeah.
Yes, they are loud.
And his beagles were over investigating a husky, and he was paying very close attention to his beagles and that husky, and they started their baying thing at the husky. And I felt like I was watching that husky, and like, you would see the sound wave vibrate the hair off the fur off the husky. It would just all like fall in a cloud. What I didn't notice while this event was happening was that my dog was standing right below the man and lifted its leg and pissed all over the man's sandal shod feet
that he was wearing.
Yeah.
That is a one-up.
In the dog park. And
Did
you
the
could
guy
see
notice?
his head staring at his dog, staring at the husky. And I'm watching this all play out in slow motion from across the dog park a little bit. And I could not get there fast enough. I started yelling, "Gambit, Gambit." He heard me. And in slow motion, his head turns down as he feels the wet on his skin.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely mortified. I said, I don't know what to say. I guess maybe we shouldn't stand still that long in the dog park. That was what I said. I made it that he had violated an unwritten rule of the dog park. Don't stand still.
Always
What?
be moving. That's an interesting way to handle that.
So, like, I don't have.
You were mortified, so you said, "I hope you've learned your lesson."
Exactly. I could not have been more shocked that my dog would do that. But that's the thing. Behavior is emergent. Like, they just do stuff based on a completely unpredictable set of past experiences. I don't know what he smelled that caused him to need to do that. Probably beagle, and he wanted to get it all off.
Sure.
But it's the same thing with kids. I don't know why they behave the way they do. I can't predict. It's most often, I guess you can see there are, you have jerk parents. Sometimes you have jerk kids, but not always, right?
No.
Sometimes you have nice kids, jerk parents, and jerk kids and nice parents. And
right.
You just do your best. Like, you just do your best around every choice.
And probably the answer is you do your best and then try not to sweat it too much. That I have to just take a deep breath and be like, dogs are dogs. We don't understand them fully. It's impossible. And assume that the other person will also feel that way.
Yeah.
And if we can't get there, assume I will never see that person again.
Mm-hmm.
So you apologize or teach them a lesson like you did.
Mm-hmm.
or berate them for standing, and then you move on with your life and realize that the 99% of the good foster, you're going to have to take the 1% away. This reminds me, and we can actually close with this because it's about a child, an actual human child. What do they call? Oh, skin baby. The phrase is really catching on, Pete. This is also a friend of the show. I'll just go ahead and keep them anonymous also, but we were at a wedding. And my friend's son was running around. It was a really big open yard wedding, and at a really fancy hotel. Anyways, I was with my friend and he was talking to another friend, and his friend said, "Hey, your son, I haven't met your son yet. Where is he? Is he around here somewhere?" And I saw my friend look across the yard, see his own son, who was about 8, with a croquet mallet, just pounding it into the earth. Like classic dumb kid, just pounding a croquet mallet. I saw him clock his son, turn back and go, "I'm sure he's around here somewhere." he just didn't point out his own son because his son was doing a croquet thing wrong. And I was like, that's probably the way to do it. Pick your moments when you're showing off your kids. And if your kid's croqueting or if your kid happens to be pooping in a shoe, maybe you just didn't see him that time. Maybe you just keep on and you just stroll over to the appetizers and enjoy your life.
Standing.
Yeah.
Anybody want a pig in a blanket?
Boy, oh boy, I wonder what my son looks like.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. We sure appreciate you hanging out. This week's tune is Let's Be Kids Again by The Hijinks. Coming up next week, Tommy, what are we doing?
Oh, because it's already, it's going to be the 8th episode.
Yeah.
We're zooming through this. We're zooming through. Clip show. No, I was told in no strong words from you, in only strong words, we're never doing another clip show. Because apparently it almost ruined you. No, we are doing a twofer. We have 2 things that we don't think maybe that both can be talked about as a full segment. And so we're pairing up 2 things that are kind of sides of a coin, wouldn't you say?
Sure.
Is that a phrase? What are they, Pete? I've already forgotten.
We're going to be, one of us will be taking on how to apologize as an adult.
The act of apologize. Yes.
How to help others through grief that is not your own.
Right. How to help someone going through bereavement that is not you, and what's the best way to do it and not feel like you are a complete failure.
We can make ourselves look like idiots.
Yes. And unfortunately, that is an enormous part of adulting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Apologizing. And maybe it's apologizing for doing a bad job helping someone with their grief. So it is just
they're
a
all
real
best friends, all of these issues. Yeah.
So that'll be, we promise we will keep it light and fun and hopefully a little bit helpful and hopefully a little bit funny. And other than that, we appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for downloading. We will be back next week with another wonderful twofer of all the feelings, adulting.
Nicholas, we signed him up for soccer when he was a wee lad, a lad like before he had choices. Like, you just sign him up for stuff and see if something sticks.
Yeah.
So he was on this little neighborhood soccer league, and I will never forget it. Chills me to the bone to say this out loud. The kids were playing, running back and forth, and it's not very organized.
Sure.
And it was coached by a neighborhood dad who, was not really into soccer, but just wanted to hang out with his kids. Just says, run, kick the ball, do that thing, rah, rah, rah. The kids had made a break for one side of the field. And there's Nicholas running the other way down the sideline. And he stops kind of in the middle. There are no real parents there. So you can imagine him cinematically alone in the middle of the frame. And it's just grass and rolling hillside behind him. And he bends down.
Oh, no.
And he picks up a used Capri Sun and starts to try to get the last drop out of it. He picked up another person's trash.
It was definitely not his Capri Sun. But
it was from another league. Like, it was just left there, probably days old. Weird. And he drank another boy's trash. And Tom, I did exactly that thing. I turned around to where the rest of the kids were, and I started screaming Nicholas's name. Go, Nicholas, as if he was in the throng. Yeah. Like, just distract everybody else.
Sure.
Yeah, we had that. That's what we had. You drink trash.
That's worse. That's better, but worse than I thought. That went a very different direction, and I like it.
Yeah.
But hydration. It's important.
Hydration.
The name of the game.
Apparently, that's important to me today. All right. Thanks, everybody. Ending the stream.